Hi everybody, welcome to Full Moon in Sagittarius live stream, and I'm just inspired quickly to do this recording for anybody that's connected via email, just kind of sharing a little bit about what's happening on the astrology, and if you're lucky enough to catch it live, then fantastic. So I'm in the chat box if anybody wants to say hello and that's watching this at this point in time. Hello. And for any of you that are catching the recording, of course, I hope you enjoy today's charts discussion and a little bit illumination. So before I go ahead and do that, I just want to point and give some attention to certain places. Like for instance, on the Raising Vibrations, or should I say the Simon Forster page, which is in the description and also on the chat as well. All right, you can go and check out the latest article. Okay, and we just wrote that today, and that's on the full moon in Sagittarius. So if you want to go and check out some of the more written way, if you prefer to digest material that way. Other than that, I also want to extend a quick shout out to anybody that is interested in joining a webinar that's happening in about 35 minutes after this video that you're live. And this is on a program called Zoom, and I think it's going to be fun because generally when I connect with you all on these live streams, I can just see the chat and kind of a face. Whereas this webinar that I'm going to be hosting, talking more about the full moon in Sagittarius, I actually get to see your face and we can interact in a way where it's a lot more personal in that sense. So if you're interested in joining me for that, it starts in about 35 minutes, and in the chat below there is a link to go and sign up for that. Oops. And yeah, you can go check that out. It's $10, and it goes to supporting the whole entire creation process as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and check out what is going on in this astrology today. So to me, this is probably one of the most intense experiences that has happened. And, you know, with the current alignments, so if we pay attention to the chart right now, you can see Saturn over there and the moon. So Saturn and the moon are in a balsamic phase to each other, okay? Meaning that the moon is completing an evolutionary cycle in relationship to Saturn. And it implies that there's a completion around our emotional identification, around a truth, around a perspective, a point of view, things that are happening in your life that you've had certain attachments to. And with the moon in a balsamic to Saturn, it's showing us that there's a completion, there's a rinsing and releasing process here around our ability to connect with what the truth has been for us in the past. So in the past, maybe you've had a traumatic experience, and now time has taken, time has gone on, and you're able to re-engage with, say, for instance, a traumatic experience like that. And there's a part of your there's a part of this opportunity to release emotions regarding whatever that might be, your opportunity to see it from a different perspective. You've maybe had conversations with some people, you've had some therapy. There's an opportunity for you to release a certain, like just to say perspective. On a more kind of sort of like galactic level, in terms of Earth itself, the whole entire globe is going through deep like changes regarding the way that we govern ourselves on a political stage. And I don't know if you all noticed, but in the States, there's been some recent, over the last 2 days, there's been some very, very deep political truths that have been coming out and distortions that have been coming out. And in the UK, there's been United Kingdom, or in England at least, there's been voting for a new government in that sense. So there's a lot of like perspectives and truths that have held groups of people together and points of views together and perspectives together that are changing, and new information's coming to the surface, and we're kind of like getting in touch with what that symbolizes. So there is a very, like a very profound, deep connection towards that, and all of us on some level are experiencing this. If you go over to the sun that's situated in Gemini here at 18 degrees, you know, in opposition to this, there's a lot of frustration that we can be feeling around trying to materialize certain things, trying to put things into place and adjust our lives, and you know, try and identify with what is going on in our existence. And with the sun naturally opposing Saturn, this can feel very frustrating, that there's a like kind of limitation. There's a kind of perspective, then maybe there's a truth, maybe some outdated definitions around the way that you perceive certain things is keeping you limited in how you're able to emotionally engage. And there's a lot of change that's occurring. And I think that this is the undercurrent of this chart, is there's a lot of change. So as we interact with the change, we find ourselves, in one sense, having to integrate and understand experiences that are not really like fully aware with us, right? There's just so much changing. There's so much adjustment that's occurring that we're just kind of like new to the experience. And yet when we try to look at it from a perspective of what has been defined in the past or crystallized in the past, our relationship towards that can almost feel exactly that, like limiting, like our perspective on it is outdated. So there's an interesting paradox here around the nature of contrasting truths and belief systems, playing out alongside each other. And you can see it, I was just, and it's always this way anyway, so it's not really significant regarding these symbols, but it does, play out in a more heightened sense because of this kind of alignment that's taking place. And that is the contrasting belief systems that we have, So I was looking on a forum today, and I was watching how people's points of views were being presented, and yet there was this kind of like, this is my argument, this is your argument, but I'm not really going to listen to your perspective because mine's better. And there's this whole entire like strong feud that is occurring with this opposition, where there's just so much opposition. There's so much like anger that is being brought to the surface regarding the frustrations in many different levels. So this is also an opportunity to kind of check in with your own truths and your own points of views, and ask yourself where you might be, not honoring another person's perspective, not that theirs is better, or it's just that their own point of view or where they're coming from in the experience is developed from their own interaction with life, and we're here to kind of like not necessarily support per se, but is in a way support the way in which we can see uniqueness play out in different ways. So also what's really interesting with this chart as well, if we have a look, we've got Mars moving into Cancer. Of course, Mars has been in Cancer for a couple of days now, and this is a big significant thing because, again, the contrast of this chart and the context of this chart is Venus conjunct Uranus, so a lot of change and adjustment, right? Moon in balsamic phase to Saturn, so completion cycles occurring here, right? And then we also have Mercury at the moment making an inconjunct to, not Mercury. I could have sworn that Mercury was actually squaring Neptune. It is. Mercury is squaring Neptune. And this is significant because whenever Mercury squares Neptune, the way that we logically put things and construct stuff in a way doesn't always play out in accordance with what we thought it was going to be, because Mercury is very linear and Neptune is so nebulous. It doesn't have any linearity to it. So when these two kind of contrasting archetypes are playing out with each other, there's always a sense of confusion that can naturally arise alongside deep clarity. So this is, again, this kind of paradox of this chart, where on one side there's this intense confusion and letting go, processing, and the multidimensionality of how realities are occurring, and the releasing process. And then there's also this kind of flash of insight and clarity regarding certain things, but not necessarily being clear to the point where there is, there is a consistency to it. So it's like it looks clear, but that's as far as it goes. And it's like you just got to kind of stay with that presence of awareness. And with Mars moving into Cancer, of course, this is going to bring up deep emotional material around the way that we have had emotional attachments towards certain things. And of course, as we let go of emotional attachments regarding the past and we begin to get in touch with how we're feeling regarding the future experiences, we'll notice this contrast between letting go and moving forward, and this occurring simultaneously. And it's bizarre because there's such a profound sense of multidimensionality to this experience. It's like it's happening all over the place, you know? And it's, if you try to understand it from a linear perspective, it's too logical and it doesn't make sense. And when it's in the more right brain abstract sense, it doesn't even make sense there. It's what we're actually seeing here is just watching a stream of consciousness and allowing ourselves to see awareness materialize through this kind of time frame right now, and not trying to get too stuck in with the story behind what we are feeling, but really just getting in touch with more of what is just occurring for us and watching how that interaction just takes place and just seeing. It's actually just like watching and not really trying to get stuck in. So that's something that I feel is also very important with Mars moving into Cancer, is like that emotional reality of trying to make sense and create stability and not really feeling that in that way. And of course, Mars, Venus in Taurus is also, that's also made a recent entrance into the archetype of Taurus. So Venus is bringing us very grounded energy and allowing us to feel more practical in our sensuality of experiencing things. And I think that this is important for us because as the energies are very like erratic and shocking and nebulous and not able to really grasp things in a material way or a linear way, this practical Taurian energy just kind of brings us back into a sense of, okay, just process one thing at a time, and bringing us deeply in with a dialogue with ourselves. Venus and Taurus is also about our inner dialogue with ourselves, because this is the whole point of this experience and this exercise as human beings, is to watch the natural unfoldment of our evolution move through us. And if we develop a deep dialogue with that process, we can actually begin to bring full attention and awareness to what is occurring for us as it materializes, and for us to then share that in a way that not only brings conscious awareness to others, but allows us to deepen our own mystical experience of what this is about for us here on the phenomena of reality. And of course, Jupiter, if you look over here on the chart over there, Jupiter is stationary. Okay, today it's stationary and it's moving direct, meaning that the nature of Jupiter in itself has filled with insights. It's ready to expand. It's ready to bring out these new directions, and we're on the cusp of that. So for us, it's about feeling this new direction occurring, and yet still at the same time feeling paralyzed around what that might be, and knowing that the end is dissolving at the same time. So really fascinating stuff, to be honest. Okay, so I hope you guys got something out of this experience today. And like I said, for anybody that is interested in joining me in a webinar that is happening in 15 minutes, for any of you that are watching this live right now, in the chat box, I've created a link. Or in fact, if I just give you my website and you can go scroll down to the bottom of the article, you'll see that there is an opportunity to sign up for it. So let me do this over here. Okay, so in the chat box, there is a link to the website, and just scroll right down to the bottom of the page and you'll see that you can choose your time zone, and a link to join the webinar will be available for you as well. And like I said, I'm excited to be able to talk to you face to face, and for you to have a more personal, direct interaction with me. And so that'll be lasting an hour and a half, and it's $10 US. And so yeah. All right, everyone. Maybe I'll stay on for a minute or so just to say, okay, let's have a look. So I see if anybody else has got questions at the moment regarding this webinar and such, I can happily answer them for you. So I see Heather, it says, sorry, your notes, you're not able to preview a draft. Okay, so let me do this. I'm not entirely sure why this is actually occurring at the moment. Let's have a look. I'm going to access a link. Thank you, Lucy. I love you all too as well. Thank you very much for joining me tonight quickly in this little short experience. I'm not entirely sure why I can't actually offer this. So I will stay on the chat after this. I'm going to close down this video and I'll stay on the chat afterwards. And for anybody that's wanting to join the webinar, I'll talk to you directly through there. Okay. And for anybody else that's watching this video, have a fantastic week and I'll take care. Bye-bye.